I've listened to Sticky Fingers by the Rolling Stones for years.
And I listened to it once yesterday.
Welcome to Spin It. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the 200th episode of Spin It, the record ranking podcast for people who would rather be listening to music. My name is James. With me, as always, is Connor.
It's me, Connor.
Yes, it is. 200 episodes in, you're still saying it's me from time to time. Some things never change.
Okay, let me try. Let's try it again. Hang on. For 200, I can do better than it's me.
Okay.
Boobity-doop-a-dow, it's Connor. Give myself a little theme song.
That was good. Instead of it's me, you said boobity-doop-a-dow.
Yeah, and then I still used it's.
Yeah, you kept it's.
I'm realizing it really was.
You replaced me with your name.
Oh, okay, here. Take three.
Take three. Third time's the charm.
The People's Champion!
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Connor!
Love it. Great. Well, that's him.
Like a wrestling announcer introing me.
Yeah, solid. Pretty strong. Makes me want to watch Sabrina Carpenter's Christmas special.
That's how I'd like you to do it every time from now on.
That's not going to happen, probably. Never say never, but never. Yes, it is episode 200. We've ranked almost 200 albums. That's a lot.
It's a lot.
There's some singles episodes scattered throughout, so we're not at 200 albums yet.
It's crazy that I've ranked basically 200 albums. I mean, you were at 200 before this podcast even started.
That's true.
It's crazy to think that I've now rated almost 200 albums.
That's a pretty good start. That's a strong list. And it's also crazy to think that that's like a quarter of the ranking spreadsheet and like counting.
Yeah.
I mean, I add to it every month, but it's currently only at 830.
I started at 0.
You started at, you've seen a way greater increase than I have.
Yeah.
What's something you've learned over the last 200-ish episodes as far as like your music listening habits and knowledge?
I've learned to allow myself to be harsh when I need to be.
Wow.
And not accidentally give Kanye's 5s.
Oh yeah, that's the thing we learned very early on. It's like you didn't want to hurt his feelings, and then everything he's done since then has...
Lower than 5 just seems so harsh and so low. Like, I was like, there's surely stuff worse than this. I can't put a floor in already. Should have put the floor in.
Yeah, that's maybe your biggest regret in 200 episodes.
Yeah, and it came on, what, episode...
3?
3?
Mm-hmm.
I regret Fast and Hard.
That was like Soundgarden, right? They're faster and weirder music. That was fun.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any memorable, like, what do you remember the most from the last 200 episodes? Any fun, weird facts? Any random things?
Yeah.
Any particular albums jump out that you're like, I never would have listened to anything like this, but I actually liked it?
Again, not to just pick from our earliest episodes, but Dua Lipa.
Of course.
Was, I think, the first big one, right? That I would have never listened to.
That's true.
But I also found I really enjoyed... I was a very big fan of Coheed and Cambria.
Yes.
So that was a cool one.
That's exciting. Love that. That was a fun episode to do.
I also, I think, discovered that there are people I would have put way higher on my list of favorite musicians that, having now done an actual album of theirs, I realized I just like some of their most popular songs, and that's really it.
Rascal Flatts.
Yeah, Rascal Flatts. I'm literally looking at my 6s right now. Rascal Flatts, Aerosmith, AC/DC. There's some big names that were, for me, I would have put like in the, like, oh, they're an easy 9. And then we did an episode and I was like, oh, maybe not.
Man, the greatest hits are easily a 9. Yeah.
Foo Fighters were surprisingly low.
Yeah. What's been kind of funny about the podcast for me is how much it changes my perception of artists and songs. Like when I learn something ridiculous about their story or about fact or spin or something, like it becomes what I think about. When I think about like Radiohead now, I can't just listen to Radiohead. I have to think, oh man, Tom York sold his toenails on eBay. Like, well, he didn't do it himself. You know what I mean? There's stuff like that. Like, oh, Jared Leto owned an ear necklace or whatever.
Sure.
Like, there's just weird stuff out there that I know now.
Yeah, I was going to say, from Fact or Spin, the Jared Leto...
Bartholomew Cubbins.
Yeah, 30 Seconds to Mars is one that them and Aerosmith, I think, are the two that stick out on my brain the most, usually, when it comes to Fact or Spin.
Yeah, with the case of the missing carrots.
Yeah. I mean, the whole mystery department. The mystery department has so many mysteries that they've tried to solve over the past 200 episodes, and it all started with their birth in episode 6.
Yeah,
Are we ready for a clip show? We've got 200 episodes. Isn't that usually when like a series will do a clip show?
we're not ready for a clip show. Nope, we don't want a clip show.
Oh, okay. What about a musical episode?
That would be ridiculous and very fun, but I don't see any way that happens.
I'm just thinking our next like singles episode should be like musical songs, like the top whatever musical songs. So we'll call it our musical episode.
That's good. We could make that happen, maybe. What do you think is the most ridiculous thing you've done for the podcast in 200 weeks?
I've done some ridiculous things.
I know. Well, the Bob Dylan milk drinking comes to mind.
Milk drinking was rough. The 50 nugs comes to mind immediately. I mean, just a few weeks ago, my birthday episode was a disaster.
They always are.
The only one who sometimes rivals my stupidity is the Mixtaper and some of his shenanigans.
That's true. And the blimp.
And the blimp.
I think my favorite of your things was the pumpkin spice frosties on the Noah Khan episode. How the Mixtaper was going to eat them, but you ended up eating 1 large and 4 small frosties for like no reason at all. You just decided to do it.
Yeah, that was a silly one. Well, the Mixtaper was going to let him go to waste after, what was it, for each one you got right, he was going to eat a frosty or something like that?
Yeah, I didn't do very well in that round.
Yeah, you did that to me.
Well, I think one of the weirdest ones for me was Alan Jackson's pineapple and mayonnaise sandwich. Having to eat that was atrocious. And
I've never had it.
I know, don't think it's lost on me that you never ate it. Mister, I ate 5 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches last night, so I don't have any bread.
Actually, one that always cracks me up is the fact that I've cried for this audience involuntarily.
Oh, when we had to eat spicy things?
Yeah. Our supplemental, our Spin It supplemental, where we tried hot chicken, and I literally was involuntarily crying because of how hot it was.
That's true. I forgot about that. That's fun.
Yeah.
Well, for 200, I figured it was time we go big again. We'll see what an artist like the Rolling Stones has in store. I mean, they are the epitome of a rock and roll band. I mean, they go by America's greatest rock and roll band. So they seem fitting for a 200th episode. I did the Beatles, who I would usually claim as a favorite, on episode 100.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you felt Rolling Stones were twice as good as the Beatles since you put them at 200.
Absolutely, I don't. But I can see why you'd think that. It's just that, I wanted to do the Beatles for a special occasion.
Maybe it works the other way. Maybe they're half as good.
Oh, and it diminishes.
And so then whoever's at 300 is only a third as good as the Beatles.
I don't know if I'd want to stake that claim yet, because who the heck knows who's going to be 300?
Until eventually we get all the way to like episode 5,000 and it's this just crap artist because they have to be
He's
so
Connor's
much
Hip and
worse than
Hoppin'
the
album.
Hey. How dare you?
5,000 would be a lot of albums to rank. Wow.
I know. Imagine starting at 0.
I can't. Well, I can. I did it at one point.
That's a joke because you started at 0 too at some point.
That's 96 years.
96 years?
Yeah, we'd have to be like 130.
Whoa.
I mean, I'm rounding up. At some point, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I'm also not so sure how I feel about Sticky Fingers as my Rolling Stones album choice.
Oh.
There are a couple of good directions we could have gone. I thought about going for something older, Let It Bleed.
I'll be honest, when I told people about that we were doing this one for 200,
Yeah.
they acted like that was the correct choice.
You think?
Yeah. The one of them even predicted it was going to be Sticky Fingers.
Okay, good. Because I wanted an album, like the Rolling Stones. And I know you know a lot of the Rolling Stones' bigger hits, right?
Never heard of them. Classic.
Satisfaction, You Can't Always Get What You Want, Honky Tonk Women, the stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I wanted an album with some hits, right? We've got stuff like Brown Sugar and Wild Horses that you might know, Dead Flowers maybe, but then also we've got some like deeper cuts that you might not know, like Sway, Can You Hear Me Knockin'? And I just kind of wanted to give you a broader exposure to the Rolling Stones. That was kind of my rationale behind this pick. Plus, it's just a good album. Even it's weird that it came out in 71, because I don't generally think of the Rolling Stones in the 70s. Honestly, most of the time I think of them, they're associated with the 60s in my mind. But they have a really interesting story and a really cool history.
Why don't you tell me about it?
I think I might. Actually, scratch that. I know I will.
Ooh, wow.
Confidently, yeah. The very first 2 Stones to roll were Mick Jagger, who you may have heard on this podcast before as Jaggeroo, the Jagmeister.
The Jaggeroo.
I don't know. We've talked about him a few times. Notably, we learned that Tina Turner taught him to dance. Well, he says that his mom taught him to dance, but Tina Turner refuted that. And we learned that he wrote that song with Rob Thomas. That's where the Jaggeroo bit came up. Mm-hmm. And he's come up a few other times, of course, because he's Mick Jagger. But the first two Rolling Stones were him and Keith Richards. They were childhood friends way back in the 1950s, which is so long ago.
That is a long time.
Mick Jagger actually started a garage band with Keith Richards and their friend Dick Taylor when he was a young teen. They took a lot of inspiration from music icons like Little Richard and Chuck Berry and Howlin' Wolf. Right? Little R&B, blues, that sort of music is what makes up a lot of their foundation. They started regularly playing together, and they called themselves simply the Blues Boys, not to be confused with Blues Boy Riley B.B. King. These were just the Blues Boys. The band kept growing, both in size and popularity. By 1963, the Blues Boys would expand to a lineup that included Jagger and Richards, and then Brian Jones, Ian Stewart, Bill Wyman, and Charlie Watts. And they had also chosen a brand new name. And it kind of happened in a spur-of-the-moment situation. A journalist asked them what their name was, and they didn't really have a new one picked out. They were kind of transitioning out of Blues Boys, but didn't have a thing figured out yet. Brian Jones, he panicked, and he looked around and he saw a Muddy Waters record lying around on the ground, and it had the song Rollin' Stone on it. So he said, we're the Rolling Stones. History was made. That's the name that stuck.
Wow.
Right? It's a good name, right? They gather no moss.
It's a great name. I mean, it's an iconic name.
It is. I wonder if it's an iconic name because of the band that belongs to it, or if it would have been iconic on another band. Like, hard to tell. But it's a good name. Especially, like, playing on the backwards kind of pun of rock and roll.
Yeah.
They're a rolling rock.
I've never even thought about it that way.
Really? That's definitely what came to my mind first. That's how I think of it. But yeah, they're the Rolling Stones now. The band got set up with a club residency in London, and they hired the now legendary Andrew Loog Oldham as their manager. He's mostly legendary because of the work he did with the Rolling Stones, but at the time, he was 19, and he literally, couldn't even sign contracts without his mom co-signing. He couldn't legally manage the band. That's crazy. But they found a way to make it work. And once, of course, he got older, that became a lot easier. They were finding huge success in their native UK. Honestly, in the early days, they were occasionally polling even higher than the Beatles in popular surveys. They'd ask all the Brits who they liked better, and Rolling Stones often came up on top. And they kind of emerged as a foil for the Beatles in a lot of ways, right? The Beatles have their mop tops and the suits. The Rolling Stones decide to go for this edgier, harder, unkempt image and raw rock music. And that's kind of another reason it's cool to do them as 100 and 200, I think. Because there's this, perceived sort of rivalry between them. And it's all perception, right? There's not really a rivalry there. It's for publicity, because the bands actually grew pretty close over the years. Mm-hmm. Some of the Stones sat in on Beatles recording sessions. The Beatles even gave the Rolling Stones a few songs that they had written.
Oh.
A couple Beatles songs made their way into the discography. But, again, that wasn't good for their image as hardcore rock stars.
Sure.
Because what they were going for, according to their manager, Oldham, he wanted them to be a raunchy, gammy, unpredictable bunch of undesirables. And he said that he tried to establish that the Stones were threatening, uncouth, and animalistic.
Uncouth is a fun word.
Uncouth, yeah. And honestly, it's not a word that most people who are uncouth would probably use.
Is couth a word?
That's a great question. We should figure that out right now.
The fact that the uncouth is a word implies couth would be a word, but...
Couth, cultured, refined, and well-mannered. It says humorous, adjective. But it's also a noun, good manners and refinement. So you can be a couth person or you can have couth.
Huh.
I think we have couth. We're couthful. Youthful and couthful.
Youthful and couthful.
So yeah, the Rolling Stones are going for this edgy image, this uncouth image. And it worked out well for them. I mean, listen to half the lyrics on this album and you'll be like, whoa, where's the couth, right? It worked.
Bring the couth back. Give me the couth.
Give me the couth. You won't find it. They signed with Decca Records on a huge recording contract. They earned royalties that were 3 times higher than normal. They retained full control over their artistic direction and the rights to their masters. That's a huge... They really wanted the Rolling Stones. That's a huge deal. So, the Stones set out recording for practically the first time. They started charting covers in 1963. They covered Chuck Berry's Come On. They covered the Beatles' I Want to Be Your Man. Some of their first hits were big covers like that. But, when you make a cover, a lot of the royalties go to the people who wrote the songs originally. You make some money for the masters, but, you really want that publishing money. So in an attempt to kind of up their own royalties, Keith Richards and Mick Jagger start trying their own hands at songwriting. And to put it bluntly, they were not very good at it at the beginning. According to Bill Wyman, their first US tour was a disaster. But, of course, with big appearances like a booking on The Ed Sullivan Show, they even performed at the same TAMI show film that James Brown was on. We talked about that in episode 196. So, their first US visit wasn't all a wash, but the tour was rough. They really started to explode internationally with I Can't Get No Satisfaction, which came out in mid-1965. We definitely talked about Satisfaction on the Otis Redding episode, right? I think we talked about how the guitar riff and the main melody for Satisfaction came to Keith Richards literally in his sleep. Do you remember this? Mm-hmm. He laid down for bed one night, got up in the morning, and he found his tape recorder running. He said, "What's up with this?" And he played it back, and he heard himself get up in the middle of the night and play Satisfaction for like 2 minutes, just cranked out the guitar riff to Satisfaction. And then he said it was like 40 minutes of him snoring, and he had no memory of it.
So weird.
And that's an unbelievable way. That's like a mythical way to make one of the biggest, most important songs of your career.
Yeah.
It's like hard to overstate how much that catapulted them into fame and maybe infamy.
Yeah, I think it is the defining moment.
Yes. Mick Jagger said, "It was the song that really made the Rolling Stones and changed us from just another band into a huge monster band. It has a very catchy title, has a very catchy guitar riff, it has a great guitar sound, which was original at that time, and it captures the spirit of the times, which is very important in those kind of songs, which was alienation." So they start appealing to their core audience, too, of angsty, alienated teens and punk kind of people. They start building their audience of rowdy rock fans. Obviously, that's a huge confidence boost to write a song like Satisfaction. And by 66, they were releasing their first albums of all original material. No covers.
Oops, all originals.
This is the period where we start to get hits like Paint It Black, 19th Nervous Breakdown, Mother's Little Helper, Ruby Tuesday. All that stuff comes in this mid-60s era. Tours were getting bigger, crowds were getting rowdier, the band's bad boy image is really increasing, and with it, of course, so does their drug use. The band really went through a lot of that. The sex, drugs, rock and roll, like that was the Rolling Stones. They had exposés written about them. They got busted by the cops. At one point, Oldham even fled the country because he was worried about getting arrested by the police for drug charges. In the late 60s, 1968 to be more specific, the Stones got to work on Jumpin' Jack Flash, Sympathy for the Devil, Honky Tonk Women, lots more. I'm sure you know at least most of those, right?
I think I know all those.
Okay. I wasn't sure about Jumpin' Jack Flash, but Sympathy for the Devil and Honky Tonk Woman, those are everywhere.
Is the Honky Tonk Woman in the room with you right now?
Well, no, she's not everywhere. She's a gin-soaked barroom queen in Memphis, so she's a little far away. But anyway, they start to push the envelope, right? They start to really test the limits of their label's full creative control claims. They're really pushing it. They started dressing in drag. They put out album covers with graffiti that poked fun at the Beatles. Their lyrics are uncouth and getting uncouther, which that one's not a word. I acknowledge it. I'm saying it for fun.
But it could be.
It could be. Maybe I just coined the term uncouther. But it's in the late 60s they also part ways with Andrew Oldham and Brian Jones, who actually sadly ended up drowning just after he left the band. That was kind of wild. But they replaced Brian Jones with Mick Taylor. Two Micks. Like, what are the odds? I know Mick's not a popular nickname now, but back in the day it really must have been.
Must have been.
Two Micks in one band. We've never even had a Mick on this podcast. We're Mickless.
We're Mickless, but we're not Mixless.
No, we do have one. He could be the Mixtaper this week. I don't know.
The Mixtaper.
Like Mick Jagger, but for tapes. Well, after Brian Jones' death, they played a tribute concert to him. A huge tribute concert. They released thousands of butterflies, and they performed for 250,000 fans. On that day, they were introduced as the greatest rock and roll band in the world, right? Before their show, that's how the MC or the announcer introduced them, and that's a title that stuck, and they still use it to open their shows to this day. I saw the Rolling Stones in 2021, and it's still in place. It's crazy how spry and good they are for being the age that they are and living the life that they've lived. It's remarkable to watch them perform. If you get the chance, don't miss them. But anyway, then they put out their 69 album, Let It Bleed. We almost did Let It Bleed. That's Give Me Shelter, Midnight Rambler, You Can't Always Get What You Want. Like a really, really strong record. And this, 1969, is where we talk about Altamont. It's one of the most unbelievable things I know about the Rolling Stones. Maybe one of the most unbelievable stories I know about any band ever. Do you know about Altamont?
No.
Okay, let me tell you a story. It's December 1969. The Rolling Stones are at their popular pinnacle, right? The height of their fame. They decide to perform a free concert in downtown San Francisco. Totally free, open to everyone.
San Fran, as the hip people call it.
Yeah, the Rolling Stones are going to be in San Fran. Crowds are going to be rowdy. You're going to need some security at a Rolling Stones show. And they said, you know what? Here's where we can find some security. Let's talk to Hell's Angels, the biker gang. They can be our security. But of course they said it's a free concert. You know, we're not going to make any ticket sales. We want to save some money. Let's pay the Hell's Angels in alcohol to do security at this show. So,
What?
yes, 300,000 rowdy fans and a security team of bikers paid in alcohol. It went worse than you'd expect. 4 people died at this concert, and only one of them was beaten by the security team, actually. 2 of them were in a hit-and-run car crash. 1 person drowned in, like, the trough that they used for drinking water. But 4 people died. There were lots of cars that got stolen. Scores of people were injured. Skulls were fractured.
Jeez.
Yeah, Hell's Angels had to arm themselves with motorcycle chains and pool cues to, like, beat back the crowds. They even knocked out a performing member of Jefferson Airplane. They knocked out someone in the band. They stabbed Stephen Stills of Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. Like, it's not even a safe place for the performers to be.
That's nuts.
It's awful, but fear not. Fear not. 4 people did die, but the net loss of life was 0 people because 4 pregnant women also gave birth at the show. So, that is a standing Guinness World Record for the most births at a concert ever.
Wild.
I know, 4 people died, 4 people were born. That's Altamont.
Hey, that is yin and yang, you know?
Yin and yang, yeah.
The circle of life.
The circle of life. All things in due measure.
Perfectly balanced.
Right. It's a wild story. It's one of the most unbelievable concerts of all time. And apparently afterwards, Hell's Angels like straight up plotted to murder Mick Jagger for how badly everything went. Like they just put out a hit on him. Didn't work because, you know, he's still kicking all these 50-something years later.
Didn't work yet.
Maybe they're still trying. Anyway, that's all happening. That's all leading up to the record we're talking about today, Sticky Fingers. In 1970, the Stones started their very own record label, appropriately called Rolling Stones Records. That's the label that would put out Sticky Fingers, the band's 9th studio album, and it's Mick Taylor's first appearance on a studio album. So, in the band, we have Mick Jagger and Taylor, Keith Richards, Bill Wyman, Charlie Watts, that's the 1971 Stones. But they also, on Sticky Fingers, got contributions from icons like saxophonist Bobby Keys and legendary keyboardist Billy Preston, alongside others. They actually recorded a lot of Sticky Fingers in their mobile studio. The same Rolling Stones mobile studio that Deep Purple would work out of to make Machine Head, which we talked about on episode 162. Led Zeppelin, who we talked about now 50 episodes ago, they used the mobile studio to make Zeppelin 3 and 4. And they also recorded Sticky Fingers at various locations like Muscle Shoals, Alabama, and other places around England. It leans very heavily on their traditional blues-inspired, like, hard rock sound. So it's kind of a cool reinvention of a lot of deep traditions in the genre in a lot of places. And that's the thing they've played around with on previous albums. Midnight Rambler has a lot of those kind of bluesy harmonica vibes. You know, it's just stuff they've done before, but they continue to explore it on Sticky Fingers. It came out on April 23rd, 1971. Very quickly, it became the first Rolling Stones album to hit number 1 in both the US and the UK. And appropriately, maybe a little on the nose, it spent 69 weeks on the Billboard 200. It also topped the charts in Australia, Belgium, Canada, the Netherlands, Finland, Germany, Norway, Spain, and Sweden, and it cracked the top 10 in Italy and Japan as well. So it's a huge international release. And actually, re-releases would end up charting internationally as well. In 2015, they did a remastered version that entered the charts in 18 countries. This album charted in the last 10 years. Critics really love Sticky Fingers. They regarded it as one of the best rock albums of the year, of course. And with age, it's obviously become one of the genre's more iconic releases. It made it into the Grammy Hall of Fame in 1999, and in 2003, it was Rolling Stone, but like the magazine, right? It was the Rolling Stone magazine's 63rd greatest album of all time. But as of 2020, it's fallen to number 104, which is still pretty good. It is certified triple platinum in the US for selling more than 3 million units. So that's great. That's Sticky Fingers. After Sticky Fingers came out, the Rolling Stones discovered that they were 7 years behind on paying taxes.
Oof.
Yeah,
How does one discover that?
I'm guessing the IRS showed up at their, well, whatever the British version of the IRS is. They showed up at their door and said, "Can't you hear me knocking?" And the Rolling Stones said, "We gotta move." So, yeah, they fled the country. They spent some time living in France. They did more recording with their mobile studio. Smart investment when you're dodging the government to have a mobile studio you can drive around. Anyway, the post-Sticky Fingers portion of the band's career is immense, and certainly too much to go into depth about for this episode, even though it's 200 and we love the Rolling Stones and it's all really cool history. The highlights of that time are as follows. Ronnie Wood joined the band in place of Mick Taylor in 1975, and he's been with them ever since. Bill Wyman left the band in the early 90s. Charlie Watts tragically passed away recently, actually in August of 2021.
Oh, not that recent.
Yeah, well, I guess not at this point. It's still recent compared to their whole career.
Sure.
But I saw them in early October of 2021, literally like less than 2 months away from the chance to see Charlie Watts, even though he had already pulled out of that tour. But dang.
Shame.
They did a really nice tribute to him at the start of the show, which was sweet. Some of the band's hit singles after Sticky Fingers include Angie, It's Only Rock and Roll But I Like It, Miss You, Beast of Burden, Start Me Up, dozens of others. You know all the later Rolling Stones songs. The band to date has put out 31 studio albums, with their latest being the Grammy-winning Hackney Diamonds in 2023. It topped 7 international charts, so they've obviously still got it going on. I can't believe we were alive in a year where the Beatles and the Rolling Stones both won a Grammy. That still blows my mind.
It's pretty nuts.
Yeah, right? Like, that's hard to wrap my head around. These bands were around, like, they met each other in the 1950s, and they won a Grammy in 2025. 75 years later. That's crazy.
And I can't even get an ice cream cake delivered.
Yeah, I was trying to think of a better way to console you there, but I don't have one. That's pretty pathetic.
But who knows? You know, they probably, 50 years or whatever? I mean, maybe in 50 years I'll be able to get an ice cream cake delivered, you know? Perspective.
Yeah, right. They had 70 years to get that Grammy. Well, they had other Grammys too.
Yeah, but we don't care about those.
Well, I mean, we do.
Oh, okay, we do.
You'll have plenty of other opportunities to give me ice cream cake, so don't you worry about that. Maybe it won't be expired. But yeah, 31 studio albums. They've also put out 13 live albums, 28 compilations, so much more. They're apparently the 4th best-selling musical group of all time. And they also still tour all around the world. And again, in their 80s, they are just as spry and energetic, roughly, as they've ever been. I'm pretty sure that's not a 100% accurate thing to say, but to watch them, I mean, does it matter? They still put on a pretty good show.
This is going on the internet. We can say whatever we want.
We can say whatever we want. Mick Jagger,
If anything, you know what?
he's sprier than he ever was.
I was about to say, I would say he's sprier
Yeah.
in his 80s than he was in his 20s.
He's never been better.
Hey, you said they were at the height of their career in the 60s? No. 2025, height of the career.
Height of the Rolling Stones career.
They won a Grammy.
They won a Grammy. Who can beat it? You're not far off, you know. I mean, it sounds ridiculous to say he's sprier than he's ever been, but they were the world's highest earning live act in 2021. And pretty much they've just volleyed that title back and forth with Taylor Swift since the 20-teens. So, I mean, look at the stark contrast between those two acts.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild. So, I mean, they can hang. And as of mid-2024, they said that they've probably still got new music on the way, quote-unquote, soon. So no slowing down. They truly have been one of the most consistent and enduring rock bands of all time. Like, love them or hate them, whether you think they're good or great or the best or the worst, you cannot deny that they've got this really steady lineup, and they're consistently touring, and they're churning out hits for 5 decades. Like, that is objectively an incredible feat.
Pretty good.
Pretty good, I know. So that's why they're a good band for episode 200. And they've got some awards and accolades to back themselves up, too.
You don't have to justify it to me.
I don't have to, but I'm going to anyway, if I insist. The Rolling Stones were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1989, which is very early on, right? The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame started doing stuff, I think, in like the 80s. They're the only band to top the UK album charts in 6 different decades. They're tied with Elvis and Robbie Williams for the second most #1 albums in the UK. They've sold more than 240 million records worldwide, all time. In 2002, for perspective, CNN said that the band had generated more than $1.5 billion in gross revenue since 1989. That's like 13 years. They picked up more than $1.5 billion. They've earned 4 Grammys on 15 nominations, more than just the one. They also got a Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award in 1986. They have 3 songs and 4 albums, including both Let It Bleed and Sticky Fingers, in the Grammy Hall of Fame. The Rolling Stones have some Billboard Awards, Billboard Touring Awards. They've got about 1 million nominations for Classic Rock and Roll of Honor Awards and 2 wins. They've got 3 MTV VMAs, 9 NME Awards, and so much more. Like, their legacy is just huge. Their inspirational reach is incalculable. That's pretty great. Other little trivia tidbits that I like, that are just good things to talk about for the Rolling Stones, cool to mention. They were pretty strong civil rights supporters. In their early days, they would contractually refuse to just play in segregated venues. It's a thing the Beatles sometimes did too, and other major rock acts of the day. They'd say, if you're going to segregate the audience, we're not going to play for you. So they contributed in that way. They're always pretty outspoken advocates. Love it when artists do that. Real class act. Real couth. Real couth of them.
Real couth.
They've also headlined a total of something like 47 tours, both in the UK and internationally. They've pretty much been consistently on the road from 1963 to present, save for like a little stretch in the mid-80s, and then, COVID times. But even then they toured in 21, so they got back out there quick. Anyway, that brings us to the portion of the show that I'm really afraid of, actually, and that's factor spin. I do this to myself every time. I like to do bigger artists on bigger episode milestones,
Sure.
And so I'm always worried we're going to run into a recurring fact on the biggies. It happened with Led Zeppelin in 150, like Ryan the Ghost came back. It just feels scary. Ryan the Ghost could be anywhere. The Plane Hat could be anywhere. I just don't know. But we'll see what the Mixtaper has in store. I heard he's got something up his sleeve for Factor Spin anyway, and I'm anxious to see what it is. Anxious in an eager sense, and anxious in an anxiety sense.
Well, let's get him on out here.
If you dare.
Hey, it's me, the Mixtaperoo.
Oh, the Mixtaperoo. Yeah, you heard that? You're sticking with that?
I have quite the game for us.
I figured you would. Pull no punches on episode 200. That's almost 200 rounds of Factor Spin. That's a lot.
I mean, yeah.
You've asked, 790 questions.
And I'm about to give you 6 more.
6 more? Oh, it's a big one.
I thought for 200 we'd do a little more than the classic 4.
Wow.
Plus, I have a bonus game at the end, so...
Oh my gosh.
It's 200. Not every day does a podcast hit 200.
Actually, only one day ever. Most podcasts don't even hit it, but even the ones that hit it only hit it on one day.
Proving my point.
Let's see, 790 questions asked. The hosts have won 413 times. The Mixtaper has won 377 and a half times.
Pretty good.
That's pretty
Closer
good.
to 50-50 than I thought. I've been pulling those numbers back. I went on a real stretch where the host took a commanding lead.
Yeah, and then I've bombed.
Had to get tricky on you. Start asking the audience.
I know. Factor Spin has evolved significantly since the beginning of 200 episodes, too. I mean, we started out with Connor playing the game, and then you showed up.
Yeah.
And at one point you discovered Reddit. We've had artists email their own facts and spins to us.
Yeah. The only thing we haven't had is an artist come onto the podcast to play their own round, to give their own round of Factor Spin.
That would be wild.
And
don't tell me Mick Jagger's here.
Here we have.
Imagine. Oh, I'd die.
Oh, gosh. But let's jump into it.
Yeah, let's.
So we got a lot to do.
Wait. Oh, I want to ask first.
Okay.
Which is not jumping into it. What's your number one fact or spin that you've ever told? What's your favorite?
My facts and spins are like my children. I can't pick a favorite.
So you do have one. You just can't tell us.
Yeah, I mean, there's one whose baseball games I'm more excited to go to than the others, but, can't really acknowledge that.
Right, of course. Telling that only one of your 790 children plays baseball, though.
The rest are underwater basket weavers.
Fantastic.
But now can we jump into it?
Yeah, we could jump into it. I have thought you were jumping into it by randomly mentioning underwater basket weavers.
No, I just thought that'd be a funny thing to say.
Okay, it almost was.
Here, if we want to lead into it here, we'll do it this way. The rest are soccer players.
Soccer players.
They play for the Philadelphia Fury.
Philadelphia Fury. Oh boy, is this about the Rolling Stones owning a soccer team or something?
Founding one, but yeah.
Founding a soccer team. Now, what's up with football teams being founded in Philadelphia by famous rock artists on this podcast? That's the second one. It's very specifically the second one. Bon Jovi started his arena football team, right? In Philadelphia. Different kind of football, but still. The Stones are British, so I'm calling it the same.
This is actually There was a chance for this to come up on another episode, actually. And maybe it didn't. I'm just misremembering.
Really? Did they co-found it with another artist?
Oh, they sure did.
Really? Oh, who could it be? Well, we talked about Phil Collins like playing a show in Philadelphia for Live Aid.
They actually founded it with two famous musicians. One we've done on the podcast.
Okay, who did they found the team with?
For a Mixtaper point, or a Mixtaper buck, you want to guess?
Gosh.
Give you one guess.
One guess. Can I know if they're a British artist or an American artist?
American.
And can I know what year the team was founded?
Yeah, 1978.
Oh, wow, that's a long time ago.
Uh-huh.
An American artist from 1978 that likes soccer? Band or individual?
Both.
Which one's the one we've done on the podcast?
No, I mean, the one we've done on the podcast has been both.
Has been both.
Like was in a famous band, or like in a famous group, and a famous solo artist.
Okay, curious. If you hadn't said American artist, I'd be sticking with Phil Collins. Because I was also thinking about Kiss. They paint their faces to look like soccer balls. Maybe there's something there. Michael Jackson is an American artist in a famous band, but I don't think he'd have much interest in starting a soccer team.
Oh, Mick Jagger and Michael Jackson, two MJs.
Oh, you're right, two MJs. That's interesting. I just don't know who has much of a stake in Philadelphia. And this famous artist in a famous band thing is throwing me off, too.
Really taking a long time with this guess for a long round of factor spin.
I don't have a good guess. Daryl Hall.
Daryl Hall. Incorrect.
Yeah, I figured. Didn't we say he did a bunch of stuff with the Philadelphia Museum and Egyptology? Maybe that's why my brain's there.
Maybe. The answer I was looking for is Paul Simon.
Paul Simon, I thought about him too. Ah, man.
Paul Simon. And then Peter Frampton.
Oh.
Was the third one.
Man, I don't feel like he does. That's great. Paul Simon, I guess he doesn't strike me as much of a soccer type.
Yeah.
He's so quiet on his songs.
Mick Jagger, Peter Frampton, and Paul Simon all co-founded the Philadelphia Fury.
Okay. And is that like a Major League Soccer team? Are they still around? I don't think they are. It's like the Philadelphia Union now or something.
So the Philadelphia Fury competed in the North American Soccer League from 1978 to 1980.
Oh, like 2 years?
3 seasons, but yeah, 78, 79, and 80.
Right. And then they folded, huh?
And then they folded.
Bad investment for your rock star soccer team.
Well, actually, so they believe they moved. They didn't really fold. They just were bought out and moved.
Oh, good investment for your rock star soccer team.
They ended the 1980 season in last place with a record of 10 wins and 22 losses.
Okay.
The team lost more than $3.1 million in its 3 seasons.
Wow. Awful. Why'd they do this?
Well, Mick Jagger had a genuine interest in the sport, having played it recreationally. Saw the investment as both a business venture and a way to help globalize the sport in America.
That makes sense, because I was like, he's got the Premier League over there, right? He's got plenty of soccer options.
It was also at a time period where celebrities and musicians were investing in sports franchises. A weird thing going on in the 70s and 80s.
And that's fair enough.
They did make a return in 2011.
Oh, okay. Probably not in the same structure or anything.
No longer owned by Mick Jagger, but the Philadelphia Fury came back to the National Independent Soccer Association in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, using the same name, logo, crest, and colors. And they folded in 2019.
Oh, that's recent. Cool.
Yeah, so they went from 2011 to 2019 when they tried to join a different league, but their main investor pulled out and they went inactive.
Dang. Well, I think this sounds like a fact to me.
I think this is a fact. Mick Jagger co-founded a Philadelphia soccer team with Peter Frampton and Paul Simon.
Yeah, the question I guess I have is, how did they get connected like this? How'd they decide to go in on it together? Because it could be true that the two other artists, Frampton and Simon, went in on this and you just tacked Mick Jagger onto it.
I do not have an answer for you.
Okay, then I guess I'll roll the dice and lock in fact.
Going with fact. This is a true fact.
A true factaroo. That's great.
Yep.
Love a good soccer team. Unfortunately, they were a bad soccer team. Love them anyway. A for effort, Philadelphia. Fury. The structure of professional soccer is so interesting.
Yeah.
Everybody's in a different league.
Well, you mentioned something on the last fact about having historical stuff on the brain.
Did I?
Centered around Philadelphia.
Oh.
With your guess of...
Daryl Hall and his Egyptology.
Egyptology, yeah, you know.
Because he liked that one big Egyptian hall, which wasn't true, but funny.
Yeah, well, yeah. When I think about Egypt, I think about archaeology, right?
You're really trying hard to make this one relevant to what I said. Yeah, sure, archaeology.
Yeah. And when I think about archaeology, my mind immediately goes to Bill Wyman, treasure hunter.
Bill Wyman, treasure hunter. That sounds exciting. What kind of treasure is Bill Wyman hunting?
Well, he really, after leaving the Stones in the early 1990s, threw himself into his new passion of metal detecting.
Metal detecting is a heck of a hobby, and also a really funny thing to leave your hard rock band for, to go into metal.
It led him to become a dedicated amateur archaeologist, exploring historical sites across the UK.
What all is he finding with his metal detector? Like, what's so treasure about what he's hunting?
What do you mean? Rephrase the question.
Like, what's he find by metal detecting? Does he find anything cool? Any interesting objects or things of value?
Oh, yeah. His discoveries include Roman coins, medieval brooches, some Civil War relics, kind of some of those old antiquities.
I see. Civil War relics over in England. He must have been really lost.
Yeah, I mean, some of his pursuits led him to the U.S.
Of course.
He even invented his own user-friendly metal detector
Oh, that's a fact.
that he sold under his name.
He invented a metal detector.
Yeah.
Custom. What's so special? What did he invent? What did he change about the existing metal detector that was so cool and different?
It's a great question.
Thank you.
It, better. It's more user-friendly.
Great answer.
It's the Bill Wyman signature metal detector.
Yeah, but like, what's more user-friendly about it?
It's far and away the best machine for starting out in the hobby.
Yeah, says the review on the box. How much is the Bill Wyman metal detector?
Well, for that, we're going to have to play everybody's favorite game show.
Oh, it wouldn't be episode 200 without it.
Yeah, we got to play everybody's second favorite game show. We're already playing everybody's favorite game show. But everybody's second favorite game, guess that dollar amount. How much do you think the Bill Wyman signature metal detector goes for?
Great question. Honestly, I don't know what any metal detector goes for.
Minus shipping and handling.
You're talking about today's prices? I assume you're looking at it like in a store environment.
This is 2013's prices.
Okay. If it's a beginner metal detector that's meant to be user-friendly and good for intro into the hobby, I'm going to say probably like $199, $200.
$200?
That's my guess.
Oh, here's an answer to your earlier question. It's apparently more lightweight, but it incorporates the latest developments in location technology.
Okay. And the cost?
Yeah, 200. Honestly, you're about right. I'll give it to you with 200.
Woo.
$185 plus shipping and handling.
Oh, wow. That's pretty dead on. Okay.
But yeah.
And he's selling this in 2013. Why are people buying former Rolling Stones metal detectors?
But yeah, some of the things he found, like the coins and the brooches, all he's given to like worked with local museums and stuff like that. Not just hoarding the treasures he's found. And he even wrote about his experience in archaeology with his own book, Bill Wyman's Treasure Islands.
Treasure Islands. Very nice. Good title. It's almost like it's mostly been used for a different book altogether.
But is any of this true?
Some of it is, but I think some of it's not. I'm going to call this one a spin.
Ooh, going with spin on this one. What do you think's not true?
Well, I guess I can believe taking up metal detecting as a hobby. Plenty of people do that. I just don't think he's got his own metal detector with his name slapped on it that is the premier beginner hobby item selling in 2013 and today for $200. Although I guess if you're going to have a famous metal detector, he's probably the one. I don't know, but I just don't buy it. Well, I would buy it if I wanted to get into metal detecting, but it might not exist. I'm saying spin.
I can confirm.
Well, you've sent a link to BillWymanDetector.com.
Is it a real link?
Is it a real link?
You'll have to click it and find out.
It's not pulling up a preview. It is definitely a real link.
This is a true fact.
This is a true fact in the Wyman signature detector. This website's from 2007.
Yeah, this is, but the price I found was from another website in 2013.
Wow.
It's because the link in this one to actually buy it is actually not working. So I don't know if you can buy it.
No, because the website's from 2007. That's wild. Bill Wyman's a real treasure hunter with a real custom metal detector.
Yeah. And you can buy his book, Treasure Islands.
How about that? I never would have guessed.
The beauty of Factor Spin.
I guess so. Britain's history uncovered.
You can buy for $8.73.
What a weird price.
We gotta move on to fact number 3.
Fact number 3.
Which is all about Keith Richards' inability to pass a test.
Man, I thought you were just going to leave it at all about Keith Richards, and I was like, uh-oh, that's a lot. That man's lived a life. I have his biography on my bookshelf.
Oh, really? Have you read it?
I haven't read it. I've been waiting for years to read it until we did a Rolling Stones episode, because I didn't want to spoil this very moment. So, you're welcome, Mixtaper.
Thank you.
It's a hefty biography. So, what kind of test can't Keith Richards pass?
His driving test.
Driving test? I wasn't sure if it was going to be, like, a skills test or an intellect test. Frankly, could have seen this being a drug test. Just wasn't sure. Can't pass his driving test. Well, when are we talking about? Because right now he's, like, in his mid to late 80s.
I don't have a year, but I'm sure I can find a year. It's well into their fame.
Yeah, sure, that makes sense.
And you'll understand why with some more details later on. So it's not like I don't know if this is the first time he ever even tried to get his license. You know, some people don't get their license when they turn 16 or whatever.
That's true.
It seems like most of these references kind of trace it back to sometime in the 60s or 70s.
Okay. Teens, 20s, young adulthood into adulthood. Why didn't he get his license? I mean, aside from the fact at some point that he just did not need it. Like, as a rock star, he kind of could go where he wanted and do what he wanted.
Well, he eventually got it.
Oh, really? Okay.
He just never passed the test.
Oh, I see. Was there a particular part of the test that he struggled with? Like, why couldn't he pass the test?
Don't know. I don't know which part of the test. If it was just like a written portion or if it was the actual driving itself. I like to think it's the actual driving itself.
I'm guessing driving tests in Britain and America are probably slightly different.
Yeah.
At least on the half of the road that you're on.
Yeah. But he did eventually pass the test. Well, he never passed the test, but he did eventually get his license.
Mixed signals. Did he get his license just by age? Like in America, there's like a point where you don't have to pass the test once you hit a certain age. You just have to, you have to pass a little bit of a test. Anyway, but it's different.
No.
So how did he get his license then?
He sent his bodyguard who wore a disguise to take the test for him.
No way. So he sent his disguised bodyguard to get his license.
Yeah, he sent his disguised bodyguard with his ID and said, go take the test for me, because I can't pass it.
That's wild. So when he gets his license, it's his bodyguard's picture on it?
Yeah, I mean, he was issued a driver's license, so I assume they take the picture right then and there like they do in America.
Wow. And does he drive with it?
Yeah, oh yeah.
And does he get caught? Or does he just eventually confess to this?
No, he just eventually confesses to it decades later. It's like, oh yeah, this is the thing I did.
How about that? What a rebel.
What a rebel. If it's true.
I don't know, man. That's hard. There's no way that could happen, right? I mean, they're well into their fame, you said. Surely somebody would recognize and be like, oh, Keith Richards, the Rolling Stone, huh? And the bodyguard would be like, I'm a different Keith Richards or something. Like how do you play that off?
Or maybe that's why nobody questioned it. Like, nobody would impersonate Keith Richards.
It'd be so obvious. Okay, next question. During this driver's test, who was guarding his body?
Ooh. Maybe he disguised himself as the bodyguard.
Oh, as the bodyguard, so he can
just
still
stood
ride
there.
along. Yeah. I'm Keith Richards, and this is my bodyguard, Reith Kitchards.
Reith Kitchards.
He needs to be with me. Yeah. And then maybe they did a switcheroo. They did a little swap.
Yeah.
And then he got his normal picture on the license. I could see it.
None of that is founded, but it is a funny thought.
It is a funny thought. And I think this whole fact is a funny thought. I'm going to say fact. Keith Richards has lived a wild life. Maybe this is part of it.
It's going fact.
I think I'd believe a lot of stuff about Keith Richards that's a lot crazier than this.
Will you believe a crazy true fact?
I do. Yay. Ish. That's scary.
Yeah, right?
Hey, British government, if you're listening, probably find a better way to vet people. I'm sure they have.
Well, they probably have since the 60s or 70s.
At this point, it's years and years on, but still. Now that we have digital cameras and other things, it's probably much more verifiable.
Up next, I call this one. Charlie Watts is a sharp-dressed slugger.
Sharp-dressed slugger. Like a baseball slugger?
Just like hitting somebody.
Oh, like a puncher. Okay. Wasn't sure if you meant baseball, if you meant punching somebody, if you meant collecting small snail-like creatures.
Listen, if I meant baseball, I would have definitely started with this fact when I said my spins play baseball.
Oh, you know what? Great point. Hadn't considered. So he's beating people up, and he looks good doing it.
He's beating up Mick Jagger.
Oh.
Or specifically slugging Mick Jagger.
Slugging Mick Jagger. When's he slugging Mick Jagger?
In the middle of the night.
Oh, in the middle of the night. Okay. What for?
Calling him his drummer.
Oh, yeah. Why is he sharp dressed?
Well, you see, he had already gone to bed for the night when Mick Jagger drunkenly referred to Charlie Watts dismissively as my drummer when speaking to a group of people over the phone.
Uh-huh.
Watts somehow hears about this, despite the fact he's already gone to bed. And he gets up, shaves, wants to look nice and well-shaven.
Nice and put together. Nice and couth.
Wants to look couth. Puts on a Seville Row suit, walks down the hotel hallway to Mick Jagger's room, calmly, knocks on the door. A little rap.
Yeah.
Jagger opens the door, says, "Hey, Charlie Watts, what are you doing here? Looking so sharp." Doesn't say that part. That's anecdotal.
Right.
And Watts calmly punches him in the face.
There you go.
Mick Jagger flies back into a platter of smoked salmon.
Was that important to the story?
It's just a fun detail.
Oh, yeah.
Watts says, "Never call me your drummer again. You're my singer." And then goes back to bed.
Yeah, that's close to true. I think he threw an expletive in there, too. I'm going to call this a fact.
Well, this is a shame.
Yeah.
This is one you know?
It's one I know, but I wanted to not jelly baby myself. I've learned in 100 episodes that I let you tell the story.
Oh, you have learned. Wow. Impressive.
Because I almost let on how much I knew. Yeah, absolutely. Punches him in the face. You're my singer. That's a well-known Charlie story.
Now, are you at all worried that the platter of smoked salmon is not a true detail?
Honestly, I was, and that's why I asked. But I'm going to just say fact, and if that's the reason it's a spin...
What if I have played you?
Maybe he didn't put on a suit. I don't know that detail. That could be new. But I think the rest of it is definitely true. What if you have played me? What if you have played me and the shave in the suit is fake? Because you knew I'd probably know about the punch. Oh.
All right, I need you to lock in an answer.
Yeah, I'm going to lock in fact, but that would be really clever on your part.
This is a well-played fact. This is a fact. I did not play you.
Okay. I thought you might have. That would be scary.
That would have been the ultimate move if I had anticipated you knowing this one. That is a shame.
Yeah, it would have been. That would have been the first time that's happened for the 200th episode.
How do you know about this one?
I don't know. It's just a well-known Rolling Stones story. Probably I heard about it at least when Charlie Watts died, because it's obviously one of the most talked about moments that he's had in the band.
Fair enough.
And it's a great way to memorialize him.
There's not a lot of Watts stories that I could find that I thought were interesting, and I wanted to have one. I was trying to get as much about everybody as I could.
Love it, yeah.
But now we go into our final regular round of Factor Spin before number 6, which is our special game.
Special game. Is it a Fast Fired Facts or a different game? I guess we'll find out. But first, another normal fact.
But first, someone lost their seat on a plane to a hat because of Mick Jagger.
It's back. It's here. Oh, it could be the time.
It's here. I was containing my excitement when I heard you say that earlier, that it could be here.
I have been waiting for a resolution to this fact forever. We have not talked about this one as much as Ryan the Ghost, who has come up so much.
It's true. But these both came from the same episode.
They did.
Both Ryan and this came in the same episode.
The plane hat first showed up with Gabrielle Aplin. We talked about Reba having a cowboy hat that took someone's seat on a plane. We talked about Beyonce also having a cowboy hat, the bedazzled one from Renaissance. We talked one more time about it, too, but I'm not remembering who that was.
Those are the only ones I remember, but I'm sure if you say we've done it again, we've done it again.
Radiohead, Tom York lost his seat on a plane to a hat. So what's Mick Jagger's hat?
His favorite fedora.
Okay, just a normal fedora, and he's bringing it on a plane. Public flight, just a normal...
Yeah, he was on his way to Paris for a fashion event.
Oh, fashion, that makes sense.
And realized he forgot his favorite fedora, in New York where he was flying from. But he was already at the airport on the plane or whatever, right?
Oh.
And rather than leave it behind, he sent the hat on a separate first class seat on the next available flight.
Amazing. Forgetting the hat is that's a good story. I like this. This is a new kind of twist on it. Now, does he send the hat on its own? Does he send a chaperone with it?
The hat, I don't know who got it to the airport, but someone got it to the airport, and it alone flew in the seat, accompanied by a note that said, handle with flair.
Whoa, that's specific and useless. Like that's gonna cause everyone to mistreat it. They're gonna be all fancy and artsy with it. Why not just say take good care of the hat? I can see getting the hat on the plane. You give the ticket to someone, they walk on the plane, buckle the hat in, and then leave. What's gonna happen off the plane? How does this hat get from the plane to Mick Jagger, who's already at the airport, presumably waiting on it?
The only thing I can think of is that the airport staff were responsible for it. I mean, it's Mick Jagger, right?
Yeah, that's true.
I knew that was a question you'd have, and I don't have an answer for you.
And why sit it in a first class seat? Like, why not ship it to yourself? I guess, when did this happen? It's a different time for shipping.
To get it there fast. It was in the late 1970s.
Yeah, okay.
And, I mean, yeah, that's probably the fastest way to get it there. And first class, why first class instead of just like coach or something? I don't know.
Because it's Mick Jagger's hat.
Yeah, fair enough.
Only the best.
But apparently the incident caused a seating reshuffle that bumped a passenger into the standby category, and they therefore had to take a different flight.
Whoa. So I'm guessing probably what happened is someone from first class bumped down to coach. Someone from coach got the boot.
Yeah, well, I assume, you know, like how you can do like the standby thing where you're not guaranteed a seat, but you can be like on a waiting list.
Yeah.
It was a seat that would have went to a waiting list person, but yeah, somebody from first class bumped down, and therefore that person never made it off the waiting list.
Brutal.
Yep. Brutal. But is it true?
Brutal, but trudel. I think, I really want this to be true. I want to find the plane hat. Someone lost their seat on a plane to a hat. Imagine being that guy. Just, I can't. Every time this fact comes up, I think, what a bummer it must be to know that some hat took your seat. The thing that gives me pause about this, and it does every time now, is that the original fact was that the artist lost their seat to the hat because of someone else. And you always say it's an artist I knew we'd be doing eventually, so I found this fact well in advance. But I always wonder if you had the foresight to change the initial presentation of the fact like this.
Did I or did I not? That is the question.
Well, the Rolling Stones are big enough that, yeah, you definitely could have seen them coming. They were inevitable on this podcast. And you probably couldn't resist bringing back a returning fact for episode 200, even if it's not them. So that's not great.
Those two negate each other out.
They do, yeah, pretty much. Ryan the Ghost would have been a little suspicious to bring back. The Worm would have been underwhelming.
How dare you?
So I think the only reason this is here is if it's true or if it's false. I'm going to say this is a spin. I don't think this is the real plane hat.
Going with spin. Doesn't think that for episode 200 we finally have an answer to one of the recurring facts.
Yeah, I don't see Mick Jagger as a fedora type, but headed to a fashion event is a really clever twist.
Well, he's definitely a fedora type, but that's okay.
Well, maybe a little bit. I don't know. If I miss it after 158 episodes, I'm going to be really upset.
I need you to lock in an answer, young man.
You know what? Why not? I've already got 3 right. I don't want to miss it if it's wrong, so I think I'm going to say fact.
Oh, wow. Going with fact purely so he doesn't miss it.
I don't want to miss the joy of getting the plain fact right when it happens.
Fair enough.
It's not like Ryan the Ghost, where I'm just going to be happy to find it. The plain fact is one that I want to get. And I've already got 3 out of these first 5, so
yeah,
I can afford maybe a little miss here. It depends on what the next game is too, but I don't have that information yet. Maybe we did it.
Well, I can confirm this is a spin.
I should have known, should have figured.
Womp, womp, womp. The plain hat fact is still in the air.
Nice. I could have seen it.
Of course I had to bring back a recurring... You nailed it. I had to bring back a recurring fact. The Worm underwhelming. The Ghost overused. Hat trick was the way to go.
Hat trick, very nice. Yeah, but I couldn't take a chance on that. I figured it was a spin, but...
Plus I wanted at least one spin in here, and it's been all facts.
That's true. It's just, it has to be an artist that would be inevitable for us to do, and the Rolling Stones are definitely in that echelon.
Sure.
What's this fancy last game you've got?
This is a round of fast-fired facts.
Oh, of course it is. I thought maybe it'd be a new game, but that's okay. An old game is great too.
Fast-fired facts for episode 200. I have 200 fast-fired facts about merchandise officially licensed by the Rolling Stones.
200?
We don't have time to do all 200.
No, thank goodness.
But I have a list of 200. And so, maybe a little slower than the usual fast-firedness. I am going to have you pick a number 1 to 200, and then I will read that out and you tell me fact or spin.
Wow.
And we'll go until you feel we've done enough.
What does that mean?
Just however many feels right. So pick a number, 1 to 200.
It would take forever. I almost want to do all 200. But make it really fast fired.
Maybe we do a supplemental where we do the full 200, but we just pick a handful for the episode.
That'd be funny.
We just put the other one out later in the week that's just like, here's a 5-minute thing of going through all 200.
That's pretty great. We'll see about it. Let's just set the number that I'm going to pick first.
Okay.
Let's do
10?
10 doesn't have a tiebreak situation. So
20.
that also doesn't have a tiebreak. Those split right down the middle. I'm thinking maybe we do 15.
15. Okay.
Let's start with number 1.
A neon wall sign. I mean, this is all officially licensed by the Rolling Stones, not just can I buy something that's this. Because Etsy exists now and all that. So this is officially licensed.
Neon wall sign, absolutely. This is fact.
Correct. Next.
Let's skip down to number 200.
A umbrella.
Rolling Stones umbrella, fact.
Correct.
Let's go to number 133.
Cologne. Specifically Mick Jagger cologne.
Mick Jagger cologne, totally. This is a fact.
Spin.
Oh.
Incorrect.
Dang. Are you keeping track of how many I ask?
Yeah.
That's good. I'm keeping track of how many I get right. So as long as you keep track of how many I ask and tell me when we hit 15, that'll be great. Number 41.
A wine.
Rolling Stones wine? So you can get Rolling Stoned. Hey, this has got to be... Surely they did it at some point, right? Are you talking stuff that's currently available or stuff that has been available?
I'm just saying things have been officially licensed at some point in time by the Rolling Stones.
Okay. No to the wine. This one's a spin.
This is a true fact.
Shoot. Number 8.
A puzzle mat. Not a puzzle, but a puzzle mat.
I'm so mad. Weird. True.
A spin.
Darn it. I should have known that. Number 108.
Pint glass.
Fact.
Correct.
Number 12.
An apron.
Weird. Everything you're saying, I'm just picturing with the tongue logo on it. I think this is true. Fact.
Correct. I believe that puts us at 7.
Okay, let's go to 173.
Oven mitts.
Oh, well, it's got to match the apron. I'm going to say that's a fact, too.
Spin.
Darn. Man, what are you going to do when you've got your apron and no matching oven mitt? Burn your hands, I guess. Number 104.
A smartwatch cover.
Fact.
Spin.
Darn it. That feels like, of course. Officially licensed, though. That's the kicker.
Mm-hmm.
Let's jump down to number 43.
An electric toothbrush.
Awesome. Spin.
That is correct.
Okay.
That's 10 so far.
Let's go back to number 2.
Christmas ornament.
Fact.
Specifically of their logo.
Okay, well, that's still a fact.
Correct.
Good. I'm hovering right around 50-50. I think I'm at 6 out of 11. Okay, let's go to number, how about 50 for 50-50 that I'm recently at.
Ice cube tray.
Awesome. Love it. This is tough. Spin.
Correct.
Okay, that makes me feel good. Let's go to number...
Oh, that was specifically a Sticky Fingers ice cube tray as well, I meant to say.
But it doesn't matter because you made it up.
Yeah.
Let's jump down to number 199.
A guitar pick pack.
Fact.
Correct.
This is great. Okay. Whew. I think I won because I just hit 8.
So you've done 13.
That's great.
Done 13, yep. So 2 left.
Okay, let's go to number 21.
A Rolling Stones dog collar.
Fact.
Correct.
Looking at track 6. Gotta be.
Final one for the episode.
Oh, hard decisions. You pick the last one.
Ooh, if I get to pick the last one...
Yeah, there must be 1 or 2 that you particularly like.
Let's go with number 34. A tongue logo electric kettle.
Awesome. That sucks. That has to be real.
That is a spin, but I'm very proud of it.
That's really good. Very British. I don't even know how it would work, but I like the idea.
Me neither, but it's hilarious. I think we should do the 200, the full 200. It'd be really fun.
We'll see about it.
A little caveat, I had to go to a lot of different sources to find all the true ones, so take it with a grain of salt if there's something that isn't actually officially licensed that I messed up on. But
Well, that's fair.
all the spins created by me,
Of course.
so I know those ones are right.
Hey, I'll take 9 out of 15. That's pretty good.
At least all the true facts are things you can buy. Most of them I tried to make sure were officially licensed where I could.
Of course. Love it. That's so fun. I love a good fast-fired facts, and merch is such a fun one.
Originally, I was just gonna make that the whole thing, just a a whole episode of just 200 fast-fired facts.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, no, there's too many good stories about the Rolling Stones.
Yeah, there really are.
You got 5 of them, plus 15 fast-fired facts.
We got soccer and treasure and doppelgangers and sluggers and hats. and facts.
Indeed. I found some other really interesting, cool stories that I might attribute to other people as spins.
That's exciting and totally understandable. There's just so much about this band.
Yeah, and then be like, oh, but this is actually true about the Rolling Stones.
Yeah, they might be my go-to next. Next time I have a chance to earn a Mixtaper buck for it's about an artist we've done, might have to keep coming back to the Rolling Stones.
Yeah, you might. You might have to come back to the Rolling Stones well. But that does it for this kind of lengthy round of Factor Spin. But episode 200, so who cares?
Yeah, Mixtaper, thanks for a great 200 episodes. We will see you for 201 next week.
And until then, say it with me, audience. Yeah!
Boy, I wonder if anyone really did just say it with him. That'd be cool. Welcome back, Connor.
I feel a little weird. Can you imagine just like somebody like in a coffee shop listening to our episode? Just going, yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine it. Driving to work, whatever it is. Like, yeah.
I know I'll say it with him when I listen to this episode.
Absolutely. Maybe he'll say it with himself if he ever listens back. I don't know if he does.
He only listens to Factor Spin.
Oh, of course. That's so him.
You know, like it's like a sports player that watches film of themselves, you know, to get better.
To improve. Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, it's like training.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the album cover on Sticky Fingers. Little suggestive.
Just a little.
Just a smidge. This album cover was nominated for a Grammy, actually. It is a pair of jeans. It's a close-up of the crotch area of a pair of jeans.
Yeah.
The initial run of this album cover was designed by none other than Andy Warhol. We talked about him on the Velvet Underground episode.
We've talked about him, yeah.
He did their Banana Peel Slowly and See cover, too.
Uh-huh.
But he did this one, and much like the Banana Peel album cover, this one had a bit of an interactive element. There was a real working zipper on the album cover that would unzip and then reveal like underwear fabric underneath the front of the jeans, which is wild. Not only was that obviously super expensive to make, it also literally damaged the records as they were produced and shipped because, you got to stack them up on top of each other when you're shipping them, and it's a record. It's got to lay flat. But when you put, like the Princess and the Pea, right? One zipper, two zippers, three zippers on top of each other, I mean, the records start to like snap and bend and warp.
Yeah.
So that didn't last long. Later editions mostly just switched to a normal, boring photo of these jeans. But man, once upon a time, you could unzip them. But also, what's wild about that album cover is we don't even know whose crotch that is. Like, you know Andy Warhol, he was an eclectic guy. He had a bunch of photos of people's crotches laying around.
Of crotches.
Yeah. Yeah, he did a photo shoot or two. He pulled this one out. And
wild.
yeah, he never told anybody who it was. And so some people have come forward and said, hey, Andy Warhol had a photo of my crotch, and that looks like me, and I would know. And really, nobody knows.
Nobody knows the crotches I've seen.
Really, I know. In other countries, there was like censorship going on that prevented the crotch picture.
Uh-huh.
So in those ones, for Sticky Fingers, the band decided instead to have a picture of an opened can of severed fingers, which, okay.
What's sticky about that? I get the fingers.
Well, they were like juicy and bloody and gross and sticky.
I guess.
It's like wild that they let that gruesome image fly and they let the fly go. Like,
yeah, because I mean, sure, it's suggestive, you know, I get it, but it's not like explicit.
no, it's
But like severed fingers, it's kind of like how like children cartoons have some of the most messed up, horrific villain scenes because they can't like show death on screen, so they just they make it way worse.
Yeah.
The example that always comes to mind is like in the animated Batman, what Joker does to Robin to like just brainwash him and turn him into like a mini Joker is so much more horrific than just killing him like he would have in the comics. But they're like, well, we couldn't kill him on screen, so we said, what's the next best thing?
Yeah, yikes.
That's kind of how this feels. They were like, well,
We can't show a crotch.
if I can't be suggestive, I guess I will just go explicit.
Oh, yeah. You don't want to, like, you could walk down the street and see this pair of jeans everywhere, all the time. Mm-hmm. But they said, oh, fine. You don't want us to show this? We'll just severed fingers you instead.
Exactly.
Sticky Fingers is also notable because it is the first appearance of the Rolling Stones' iconic tongue and lips logo, which has become synonymous with their entire brand, and, as we've recently learned, is featured on somewhere between 0 and 200 officially licensed merch products.
But not a kettle.
No, that wasn't one of them. That tongue and lips logo was designed by John Pash and Mick Jagger was inspired by and meant for that logo to evoke the Hindu goddess Kali. Music critic Sean Egan said, without using the Stones' name, it instantly conjures them, or at least Jagger, as well as a certain lasciviousness that is the Stones' own. It quickly and deservedly became the most famous logo in the history of popular music.
Wow.
And today, it is second only to the Spin It logo. At least some say. I think it's a perfect cover for this album. It's not explicit. It's just suggestive, and it's edgy, but not over the top. It's a Rolling Stones album. What did you think you were going to get?
Yeah.
But anyway, let's dig into it. We got 10 Rolling Stones tracks to talk about here, and we open up right off the bat with a very interesting one, Brown Sugar.
Popular one.
Popular one indeed. Is this one that you knew beforehand?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I figured. It's one that probably all of us knew beforehand. It was the album's lead single, went to number 1 in the US and Canada, number 2 in the UK and Ireland. Billboard called Brown Sugar the 16th best song of the year in 1971. Rolling Stone has named it the 5th greatest guitar song of all time and put it as high as number 490 on their list of the 500 greatest songs, which is honestly barely cracking that list. It's in the bottom 10 of the 500 greatest songs of all time. What do you think about it? How's Brown Sugar grab you as an opening track?
This song reminds me of another song. I'm trying to find it. Why am I blanking on what? For some reason, so if you go to the 1 minute mark of this song, maybe a few seconds before that, that little guitar part,
Yeah.
for some reason, that gives me weird Vietnam flashbacks to Rock and Roll All Night by Kiss.
Interesting.
That part just always makes me think of Rock and Roll All Night.
Yeah, I think there's some similarities there, just in the chord structure.
Yeah, specifically around the you keep on shouting part of Rock and Roll All Night. What the guitar does around there.
Yeah.
And it's just weird that those are both the tongue bands.
It's true. Yeah, Gene Simmons has his tongue, and the Rolling Stones have their tongue, and that's wild.
Sometimes the tongues get together and party.
Lyrically, this song is a wild ride.
Yeah.
It's not aged the best, and they even change the lyrics sometimes when they perform it nowadays. In fact, for a while, it was even fully off the Rolling Stones set list.
You know what else this reminds me of?
What's that?
The beginning of this song kind of reminds me of Hot Blooded.
By Foreigner?
Foreigner.
Yeah, it's also pretty similar. That's true. But this came first.
Yeah.
Compared to both of those things. So this is the inspiration.
Sure. Just a lot of random songs popping into my head based on this one.
Yeah.
Brown Sugar.
Yeah.
Brown sugar. Do you think brown sugar tastes better than regular sugar? Or which sugar is your favorite?
They're different, and they're used for different things. If you're just going to eat one, like a spoonful of one, I do think brown sugar tastes better. Normal sugar doesn't have quite the oomph that brown sugar has. But you can't use brown sugar in as much, necessarily, when you're baking.
Sure.
Again, all metaphors in the song aside, literal brown sugar is not necessarily as useful as just pure granulated sugar.
But brown sugar makes butterscotch, and that's one of my favorite flavors.
I do love butterscotch.
Pretty much the big difference between butterscotch and caramel is brown versus white sugar.
How come it tastes so good? Just like a butterscotch should. But it's a really interesting one. There's some dispute, but it's likely that Mick Jagger wrote the song about one of Ike Turner's Ikettes, Claudia Lanier. Mick Jagger said that the lyric in Brown Sugar was all to do with the dual combination of drugs and girls. This song was a very instant thing, a definite high point. And it sounds like it really was instant. Keith Richards said, I watched Mick write the lyrics. It took him maybe 45 minutes. It was disgusting. He wrote it down as fast as he could move his hand. I'd never seen anything like it. He had one of those yellow legal pads and he'd write a verse a page, just write a verse and then turn the page. And when he had 3 pages filled, they started to cut it. It was amazing. So this is like just off the cuff. This is what's on Mick Jagger's mind in the middle of 1969-70.
I mean, what else is there to have on your mind?
Sex, drugs, and rock and roll. I mean, that is the 3 things. It's all sorts of a mess of vices and controversy. Mick Jagger, in 1995, years later, he said, that makes it the whole mess thrown in. God knows what I'm on about in that song. It's such a mishmash. All the nasty subjects in one go. He said, I would never write that song now. In fact, he actually said he would probably censor himself nowadays. He would just not even write those lyrics in the first place.
Oh, wow.
But it is an iconic Rolling Stones song, all things considered, and it sets a heck of a tone for this album right off the bat. It's a rocker, it's fun, it's scandalous, it's all the things. They recorded it in a span of 3 days down in Alabama, but they held on to it for more than a year. It actually made its live debut at Altamont in 1969. people died to this song or were born to it,
Yeah, the 50-50 shot.
honestly. But what a track, man.
It's a good track.
It is. I love the brass on Brown Sugar, too.
Yeah, you like the brown sugar brass?
Yeah, I do. It sounds, pun intended, pretty sweet. Okay, ballad guy, though, did you know Sway beforehand?
Oh, I did.
You did? I wasn't sure. This one was one that probably had a higher chance than the lowest tracks on this album, but not the highest chance of you knowing it.
Yeah.
Sway, at least in the US, it was the B-side of Wild Horses.
Oh.
So it got out there a little bit. Sway, it's a nice little ballad. Nice little slide guitar in there. And also a fun couple trivia tidbits. You know, there's some background vocals on Sway. It is assumed that Pete Townsend from The Who and Ronnie Lane from Faces and Billy Nichols all contributed background vocals to Sway.
Oh.
And Sway was also first performed live in Columbus, Ohio.
Wild.
Yeah, right? What are the odds? It's such a sad song. It's just that Demon Life has got me in its sway. I'm getting so brought down. Demon Life has its talons in me. There's just real lament in his voice as he screams and sings, hey, hey, hey.
I've always liked Sway.
Really?
You said that like that you're kind of disappointed.
No.
I like it.
I agree with you.
Oh, I mean, it sounds like you're disappointed that you agree with me.
No, I'm appointed that I agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, for rock ballads, I like it.
Me too. I think there's a lot of sound in it. It's a slow, gentle kind of song, but the sound is still so big and constant.
I agree. It does get a little repetitive. It's just that Demon Life has got me in its way.
Yeah, it is 4 minutes, and there's really only like the 2 verses, and then a lot of Demon Life, Demon Life, Demon Life.
A lot of Demon Life.
And Demon Life has still got Mick Jagger in his sway. I mean, he's been kicking for a long time.
It's true.
But yeah, that's Sway. Its A-side is up next, Wild Horses. Probably another one that you knew pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I figured. Me too. I don't think I mentioned earlier, but like the first time I really dug into the Rolling Stones was I got one of their greatest hits CDs at like a holiday sometime.
Oh.
And I was like, wow. And so I got, a big chunk of the hits. I think it was mostly the early hits. I don't know if I got too much into the 70s and 80s. I don't remember Start Me Up being on there. You know, Beast of Burden. Like a few of the later ones I don't have, but earlier, absolutely. And Wild Horses was on that CD, and I remember really, really liking Wild Horses. And rightfully so. Because it's Rolling Stone's 193rd greatest song of all time as of 2021. And in its heyday, it hit number 28 on the Billboard Hot 100. Keith Richards said, if there is a classic way of Mick and me working together, this is it. He said, I had the riff and the chorus line, Mick got stuck into the verses. Just like Satisfaction, Wild Horses was about the usual thing of not wanting to be on the road, being a million miles from where you want to be. It also, from what I could find, seems like some of the songs started off as a lullaby that Keith Richards wrote for his son, and then the title, Wild Horses Couldn't Drag Me Away. I mean, it's a common phrase, but it is allegedly what Mick Jagger's girlfriend Marianne said when she first woke up after an overdose-induced coma. Yeah.
That is kind of wild.
Wild Horses Couldn't Drag Me Away. Yeah, and I guess, I mean, if the overdose was on heroin, right? That's horse, right? Maybe there's deeper, druggier meaning. Who knows? But Mick Jagger did say, I was definitely very inside this piece emotionally. This is very personal, evocative, and sad. It all sounds rather doomy now, but it was quite a heavy time. And we've got, man, just a couple heavy songs back to back.
We do.
Like Brown Sugar kicks us off with this riot, this rollicking, easygoing debauchery. And then it's like, whoa, life sucks, life sucks. Demon Life has got me in its sway. Wild Horses Couldn't Drag Me Away. I've dreamed you a sin and a lie. I have my freedom, but I don't have much time. Man.
The way he says some of the lyrics, like, or treat you unkind. Kind of that swoop he does.
Oh, he's a swooper. Yeah.
He swoops.
I think it serves the song really well. It makes it feel more heartfelt and genuine. I also just love the 12-string guitar on Wild Horses. Top notch. It doesn't get much better than that. At least that's what I'd think. Initially, they demoed the song, and then they didn't think it was any good. So they passed it along to Graham Parsons and the Flying Burrito Brothers, right? We talked just so briefly about them on the Emmylou Harris episode. So the Burrito Brothers did it, and then they decided that it was good enough. So they tossed it on Sticky Fingers. Also another fun guitar thing. On the Stones recording, they used what's called Nashville tuning. They tuned the lowest 4 strings, the E, A, D, and G strings. They're an octave higher than normal, which is why the song sounds so light and floaty. We're also consistently getting longer. Brown Sugar was 3:48, Sway is 3:52, then Wild Horses jumps up a big 5:41. Is this song too long or repetitive for you? Or was that just Sway?
Yeah. Actually, I think this one is the biggest offender almost on the whole album of being long and repetitive.
Wow. That surprises me a little bit.
But it's okay. I forgive them because of the swoop.
Oh, you got swoop forgiveness. That's pretty couth of you. I don't think that's the right way to use couth.
Anyways, the right way to use couth.
Yeah, I think you're right.
There is no uncouth way to use couth.
Oh, very ironic. Well, the trend continues of songs extending and increasing in length on Can't You Hear Me Knocking. It's a whopping 7.25 minutes long, and that wasn't even the plan. That was like totally an accident.
How do you accidentally do that?
Well, they had the song, right? They had the song that they wanted to record and play, and then at the end, there was a big old improv jam. They just started playing and kept going. They did the whole thing in one take. The jam was totally unplanned. They actually thought the tape machine had stopped recording, and thankfully it didn't, so they caught the entire thing on recording. Keith Richards said, Can't You Hear Me Knocking came out flying. I just found the tuning and the riff and started to swing it, and Charlie picked up on it just like that, and we're thinking, hey, this is some groove. So it was smiles all around. Mick Taylor said that the improv jam just happened by accident. That was never planned. Towards the end of the song, I just felt like carrying on playing. Everybody was putting their instruments down, but the tape was still rolling and it sounded good, so everybody quickly picked up their instruments again and carried on playing. It just happened. It was a one-take thing, and he said a lot of people seem to really like that part. So that's how a song ends up at 7 minutes and 15 seconds long. Nobody stops.
I see.
They just go and go and go. Can't You Hear Me Knockin' is also one of those songs that features Billy Preston on the organ. He did some work with the Beatles in their latest days, so that's neat. He's a regular icon of piano playing for other rock bands.
That is neat.
Also, Can't You Hear Me Knocking is pretty high for Mick Jagger's vocal range, and so because he couldn't hit all the notes very well, he tried to cover up anything that he was flat on or missed with harmonies and extra layers of his vocals. So that gives these Can You Hear Me Knockins this big, loud, layered, kind of yelly energy. It's like he's just screaming at us a little bit. I think it works really well. What do you think about the jam at the end or anything?
It's cool.
Yeah, there's a saxophone in there.
I think it would have made a cooler interlude, actually.
Well, I think, yeah, but that's just semantics. I mean, if you were playing this on a vinyl record...
No, it's not semantics. So if you're playing it on a vinyl record, semantics, right? Because you're listening through the whole thing anyways.
Yeah.
But I think having the option to not have to listen to that when you want to listen to Can't You Hear Me Knocking would have improved Can't You Hear Me Knocking.
That could be true.
I think the little jam session is important to the album, but I think it hinders the song.
Yeah, it does kind of usurp Can't You Hear Me Knocking.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it becomes less of anything that the song was, and it becomes almost fully a jam. The jam is something like twice as long as the actual planned version of the song, I think. I don't know. It's hard to tell where the actual song stops and the jam part starts, but it's definitely extensive. But also, it's super impressive. Like, not always easy to improv with an entire studio full of other musicians and have it be record ready after one take. And, like, you can tell that it's improvised, but it's still very good. Well, up next is the last song on side one, You Gotta Move. Finally, we break the trend of getting longer. Can you imagine if we had to keep getting longer? The album would be enormous. Instead, we drop back down to 2 minutes and 32 seconds. It is the shortest song on this album. And you want a slide guitar? You Gotta Move is a slide guitar song. It is actually an old African-American spiritual song, and it's the Rolling Stones dipping back into that rich history of gospel and blues music that influenced them, right? The Howlin' Wolf and the Muddy Waters and all that stuff is what they kind of bring to the table with You Gotta Move. It's been recorded various times since the 1940s. Notable versions of You Gotta Move come from Mississippi Fred McDowell, Sister Rosetta Tharpe, one of the foremothers of rock and roll. Sam Cooke also did a version of the song. We talked about Sam Cooke, I think, on the Otis Redding episode. But of course, the Stones cover is one of the most famous by virtue of being covered by one of the biggest rock bands of all time. It's really kind of a raw little song.
Yeah, it is.
I like it.
This is the first one I didn't know.
Unsurprising. Yeah, this one would have really blown me away if you actually knew it somehow. It's quiet, too, right? After we have so many big, loud songs, Can't You Hear Me Knockin' is a song literally about trying to be heard. And You Gotta Move comes in so quiet and almost understated. I don't have too much to say about it because it's pretty simple. I mean, it's that standard blues sort of style. The melody on the instruments follows the melody of the vocals pretty closely. The lyrics follow a really interesting parallel structure, but there aren't very many of them. It's a short song, and it's kind of a nice way to transition out of side one. Then you get up, you flip the record over, And track 6 comes roaring in with pretty much the same energy as Brown Sugar, only a little bit different. Track 6, it's called the B word. Starts with a B, ends with a CH. No, I'm not talking about butterscotch.
Yeah, but I wish it was. I'm in the mood for some butterscotch.
Dude, love, it's a butterscotch. It is not an official single, but it's kind of a cult fan favorite. I'll be honest, it's one of my favorites on this album. Not one I knew beforehand, not one that was on their greatest hits, but man, what a fun kind of song. The energy's back high, the brass instruments are here again in a major way. They punctuate all the phrases, and I really like the way they use the horns on Butterscotch. It's another song they recorded in their mobile studio. Engineer Andy Johns said, Keith was very late. Jagger and Mick Taylor had been playing the song without him, and it didn't sound very good. I walked out of the kitchen, and he was sitting on the floor with no shoes, eating a bowl of cereal. Him being, I think, Keith Richards. Suddenly he said, Oi, Andy, give me that guitar. He put it on, kicked the song up in tempo, and just put the vibe right on it. Instantly, it went from being this laconic mess into a real groove, and I thought, wow, that's what he does. So we have Keith Richards to thank for this, at least in its current form, and it's so much fun. Mick Jagger said the brass was a big thing for him, too. He said, brass for me is great. I mean, as long as it's used sort of tastefully. I'm not saying I'd like to work with a band with sort of 5 or 6 brass, but I wouldn't mind a band with sort of 5 saxophones. What did you think? I think track 6 is the best horn song on the album.
Track 6 has some pretty good horns.
Right? I also, just the lyrics here are something else. I mean, you heard what we had on Brown Sugar and Wild Horses, and like the lyrics are pretty serious. They just cut loose and be goofy here. When you call my name, I salivate like a Pavlov dog. That's a line that always kills me. Like, what? Okay. You've been conditioned.
I feel like I've been conditioned at times.
You think? Don't have no bark or no bite?
Plenty of bark. Very little bite.
Just a little bite. Well, that's okay. I think it's also the perfect length, right? We started with a short song again after we kind of capped out on Can't You Hear Me Knockin'. And we're going to go through that same cycle of every song getting progressively longer and longer for a bit. But I think track 6 is the perfect length and the perfect energy level. It's awesome. And then we slow it down again. Like, they have a habit of really gassing you up with the first tracks on their sides and then really slamming the brakes.
They really do.
I Got the Blues is up next, and it is so slow.
Very slow. It's got the slows.
Yeah, really. It's got the snooze. It's not a sleeper song. It's another song that really employs the brass instruments a lot, and they make a significant difference. But it's not a particularly bluesy song for being named after the blues. Critic Richie Unterberger said, musically, it's very much in the school of slow Stax ballads by Otis Redding and some others, with slow reverberated guitars with a gospel feel, dignified brass, otherwise known as couth brass, and a slow buildup of tension. He didn't say the couth part, I added that, of course.
Of course.
But, yeah. I've also seen I Got the Blues be compared to Otis Redding's I've Been Loving You Too Long.
Oh.
Yeah, which the Stones covered themselves in 1965, and which we covered in episode 114, right? We talked about how Otis and the Stones kind of traded blows, where they covered I've Been Loving You Too Long. He covered Satisfaction.
Sure.
Like 2 weeks after it came out.
He heard it and said, I could do that better.
I could do better. Yeah, I think he covered it so quickly that people accused the Rolling Stones of stealing it from him when it first came out.
What a move.
Uh-huh. I Got the Blues is a song that's really well done, especially the organ solo that kicks in after that 2 minutes. It's a beautiful song, but it's not ever like one that stays with me from this record.
Yeah. It is probably my second favorite brass.
Really? Behind what, Brown Sugar or Butterscotch?
Butterscotch.
Yeah, that makes sense. So good brass back to back.
Yeah, back to brass. Brass to brass.
Right. It's so slow, man. 4 minutes is a pretty hefty length for I Got the Blues. It does feel like it drags a little bit, but it's not bad. Sister Morphine, though, is a song that I fully lose and forget, honestly.
Wow.
If you take away the chorus, Sister Morphine pretty much disappears from my memory. Like, I can't remember much about how it goes ever. Not talking about right now, obviously.
You prefer Brother Cocaine.
Brother Cocaine. I don't know about prefer. It's Cousin Cocaine also. Sweet Cousin Cocaine. Brother, I don't know what a brother is.
Brother
Tylenol. I can do him.
Tylenol.
Sibling Tum.
Brother allergy medication.
Yeah. Sister Claritin.
Yeah, Sister Morphine is probably the weakest part of the album.
Weakest? Wow. I think lyrically that's not true. But Musically, maybe.
I'm just referring to like holistically. Like if I had, it would go at the bottom of my rankings for this album.
Okay, that's fair.
I agree. The lyrics are pretty good, but yeah.
They're a little confusing, though.
It's just for a guy who there exists a whole song that talks about having the moves like.
Yeah.
It's a lot of slow songs on this album
Isn't it surprising?
that don't warrant themselves to having moves.
No, and that's why I kind of liked picking Sticky Fingers, because it's not the Rolling Stones you know and you're used to if you've heard the rock and roll greatest hits.
Yeah, if you came here for the Rolling Stones that you know and are used to, get lost.
Well, there's some of it. Some of it's here. It is lyrically confusing. Mick Jagger said it's about a man after an accident, really. So, like painkillers. But he wrote the song with Marianne Faithfull, who he was dating at the time. She did her own version years before the Rolling Stones. And honestly, it was a whole mess. When the album came out in the United States, they left her name off the songwriting credits. And they got into a whole legal debacle about it. But as far as she is one of the co-writers, she said that she sees Sister Morphine as my self-portrait in a dark mirror, my miniature gothic masterpiece, my celebration of death. And that's a pretty heavy way to describe this song. It's not so bad. It's a little long, but that's okay. It's in my bottom 3 tracks on this album for sure.
Sure. Yeah, the first half of this album, the A side of the record, is definitely the better side in my opinion.
Yeah, but don't sleep on tracks like Dead Flowers.
I mean, yeah, never sleep on Dead Flowers. You want to be on the live ones, more cushiony.
Go sleep in the garden. Yeah. Dead Flowers is a captivating song. I think I first heard Dead Flowers when I was listening through this album for the first time, and it was an instant love. I thought it was really well done. It's a very country-ish kind of vibe on Dead Flowers, again inspired by the band's friendship with Graham Parsons and the Flying Burrito Brothers. Jagger said the country songs we recorded later, like Dead Flowers, are slightly different. He said the actual music is played completely straight, but it's me who's not going legit with the whole thing because I think I'm a blues singer, not a country singer. And he said songs like Dead Flowers are more suited to Keith's voice than mine, but his voice is still the one that graces Dead Flowers.
Fair enough.
It's another meditation on death.
It's a good song.
Yeah, it is. Send me dead flowers every morning. Like every flower you ever pick is dead or dying.
I like send me dead flowers to my wedding, and I won't forget to put roses on your grave.
I know, right? It's like we use flowers. We kill beautiful flowers in order to celebrate life. And then we also use them to mourn our own death. I don't know. It's just a really interesting symbol in there. And it's also still a bit of a drug song. I'll be in my basement room with a needle and a spoon, and another girl can take my pain away. You know, there's no shortage of substance in Sticky Fingers. But I like the voice that he does on Dead Flowers. Kind of gets that little fake drawl in his voice. Take me down, little Susie, take me down. I know you think you're the queen of the underground.
All the different ways he wants dead flowers, you know, send me dead flowers at my wedding, send me dead flowers by the U.S. mail. Don't send it via FedEx. No. It's got to be the U.S. mail.
They'll never get you if you send it via FedEx.
Yeah. Every morning. I mean, think about the, especially, yeah, I mean, the U.S. mail. I mean, you got to still pay for some postage, but could you imagine just sending dead flowers every morning via FedEx?
That'd be a lot.
The bill.
I mean, you're talking at least, 704 flowers a year?
Yeah.
That's too many. But you know what? I won't forget to put roses on their grave. Honestly, no one probably will. We'll all remember. Because of this song, if nothing else. And that brings us to the album's closing track, Moonlight Mile. It is also the last track they recorded for the album. It started out as a partial song that Mick Jagger called the Japanese thing. And then Mick Taylor reworked it into something more resembling the finished product of Moonlight Mile. Also interesting is Moonlight Mile is the first Rolling Stones song without Keith Richards on it in any real capacity. He had a lot of unexplained absences at this point in the band's career. He was kind of doing his own thing. The melody on Moonlight Mile is really interesting.
I knew this one.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
That's all but like 3 songs on this album that you knew then.
No. Hang on, I knew the first 4. I didn't know anything from You Gotta Move till now.
Oh, okay. So then half.
I knew the first 4 in this one.
You didn't know half the album.
Yeah.
How'd you know Moonlight Mile? Or what do you think of it at least?
I like it. I know it. Where do I know this from?
I don't know.
I just know it. Maybe it came on a random playlist. I was thinking it was in something I'd seen. Oh! I know where. Duh. I was like, I swear I wrote down what I knew this from, and I didn't see it in my notes, and I was very confused. I know it because I've seen the film by the same name that came out in 2002.
Oh, well, that'll do it. Yeah, of course it's in the movie.
Yeah. The film takes its name from the song.
Right.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool song. It's a pretty cool movie. It has songs from the Rolling Stones, obviously, Moonlight Mile, Van Morrison, Bob Dylan, Elton John.
Ooh.
So it's got a good soundtrack.
Yeah, I guess so.
It's a romantic drama film.
I really like the orchestral part on Moonlight Mile. It ends up being like maybe the most gentle song on Sticky Fingers.
It's very gentle.
Yeah, it's very nice. It's a sweet way to end. It's a really well constructed album because I like the way that it amps us up and brings us down, both at the beginning, at the end of the side, and then at the end of the record altogether. I think those are really well done. But anyway, shall we final spin it?
Let's final spin it.
Wonderful. Already working on a long episode. I'll keep it brief. Music is great. Given the music of 93, love the blues inspired. I love the roots that the Rolling Stones have and how much they play to those inspirations on Sticky Fingers. Given the lyrics in 87, they're playful, they're raunchy, and yet they're also really heavy and deep and deal with a lot of complicated themes in a way that only the Rolling Stones really can. Given the instruments and production at 90, I love the choice to include so many horns. I even love the chance to mix it up with songs like You Gotta Move, right? Some of these songs with their really cool 12-string guitars and their unique tunings, and Dead Flowers with his country inspiredness. There's orchestras and slide guitars and the whole nine. I just really like that. 90 on the instruments and production. Overall vibe, 89. I don't know if it's the best Rolling Stones album. It's probably in the running, in the conversation. It definitely doesn't include their biggest hits, but it also includes some really big hits and some really deep cuts. So I like it for that. It's the Rolling Stones, you know, what are you going to do? Overall score is a 91.1, which lands Sticky Fingers at number 72, above A Wonder's self-titled album, and below 2021 or 22, I forget when we did it, Grammy winner Jon Batiste. So top 75 over here.
That's kind of way higher than I thought this was going to be for you. You weren't raving about it in the way I would have expected for a top 100.
Oh, I'm raving. All right. Raving quietly.
Oh, a quiet rave.
Yeah.
Like a silent rave.
A silent disco. I'm silent discoing over here to Sticky Fingers.
I see.
What about you? Is this going to be in your top 100?
For me,
I mean, probably, right? Your top 100 is way different than mine.
Yeah. I like the album. I'm a Rolling Stone fan. So this isn't the album I would have picked if I was picking, but, I would have picked off of which one had the most songs I really like on it. So,
of course.
Maybe not a fair comparison. Some interesting new songs. I did like Butterscotch a lot.
Me too.
Big fan of Butterscotch.
I'm glad that you said Butterscotch earlier in the episode, and it gave me something to replace that title with.
Yeah. Part of me kind of wants to take Butterscotch for the playlist, but I'm not sure about that yet.
Really?
Think about it.
I'd be inclined to do that too.
My top 3 in album order.
Man, your 200th top 3. That's like 600 songs. We've had singles episodes and stuff, but you've picked more on other episodes to help cushion that. You've picked like 600 songs.
I'm easily at least there.
Plus you picked 4, so it's even more than that.
Brown Sugar.
Yeah. How come it tastes so good?
Wild Horses.
They could never drag you away.
Honorable mention to Can't You Hear Me Knocking.
Can you hear me knocking? That's just a good song.
And Butterscotch.
Wow. Yeah, nothing on the back half really did it for you, huh?
No, it was very front half loaded for me. Can't You Hear Me Knocking relegated to honorable mention because too long. They said should have been split up.
Okay, fair enough.
But still, that jam session just adds something to the album worth honorable mentioning.
It does.
Yeah, I don't really know where to score this one, to be honest with you. I'm at a bit of a loss.
Okay. What are you thinking? Like, what's the holdup?
Could go as high as an 8, as low as a 6. Kind of got a 3-number range here.
That's huge. That's a huge range.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like this one won't actually make your top 100 then.
Well, if it scores an 8, it would.
If it scores, almost anywhere in the 8s, but your bottom, I think 5 or 6 8s are outside of your top 100.
Is it?
Yeah. You've got 56 9s and 10s, and you've currently got 49 8s. Mariah Carey's Merry Christmas is your current 100.
Wow. So this episode right here could decide if Mariah Carey stays in the 100 or if she's bounced down to the lower 100.
Yeah, it's true.
The bottom 100.
What are you thinking, though? 8 to 6 is a huge range.
Yeah, it depends on how much I dwell on the bottom half.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that is what's going to leave the last taste in your mouth.
Yeah. And just thinking about some of the other songs that I really like that aren't on this album. Painted Black is one of my favorite rock songs.
You're going to judge this by what's not here?
I don't want to. I'm trying not to, but there's some bias that's trying to creep in. I mean, I can't get no satisfaction.
It sounds like you can't get no satisfaction from this album. At least maybe not enough.
I'm going to give this one I think I gotta give it 8 butterscotches out of 10.
8 butterscotches. Wow. Where in the 8s, though? Is it going to be in the top 100?
I am. It's gonna be a lower 8. It's going right below Daryl Hall and John Oates.
Okay, that's low, but that's top 100 for now.
Yeah, sorry, Mariah Carey.
There she goes. All she wanted for Christmas was you, and this is how you treat her.
She can't even beat Wham.
No, she couldn't. We brought her in specifically to beat Wham, and she didn't. You're right. Get out of that top 100. Anyway, 8. Not bad. 8's a pretty couth score.
Yeah, butterscotch is a pretty couth flavor.
Yeah. Couth score, couth unit. Let's pick some playlist picks.
Couth album.
Couth album.
Playlist picks. So you're also thinking maybe putting butterscotch on there?
If it were just me picking 2 fun, upbeat songs, I'd pick Brown Sugar and Butterscotch. I could also totally see Sway or Wild Horses making the cut. Maybe even Dead Flowers on a rainy day.
I think if I was picking, it would be Wild Horses and Butterscotch to give me that upbeat and that ballad.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. And I would think the same thing. Wild Horses almost has to be your ballad pick. And Butterscotch was such a surprising song to me that I hadn't heard.
Same.
And it ended up being a standout on this album.
Same.
I think I could get behind that.
And that's what the playlist is all about.
Yeah, our favorite songs.
Let's do it.
Wild Horses and track 6. Solid playlist picks. Well, that is gonna do it for 200 episodes of Spin It.
Wow.
I know. Amazing. 200 weeks. How exciting. I feel 200 weeks older.
200 memories.
A lot more than that, but if you've only got 200, that's okay.
I mean, not all of us gonna have a bunch of memories, all right? Some of us have paper shredders that just get rid of
Just keep churning it
everything.
out. You're right. Yes, stay around for the next 200 episodes coming your way beginning next week.
In the next 200 weeks.
You can find us on social media at SpinItPod Official on Instagram, as always, and at SpinItPod on X, as always. And our website, which has been around for almost 200 episodes, is www.spinitpod.com. Everything we got is up there. The bonus content we're going to make about the 200 Rolling Stones licensed merch items is going to be up. It'll be a blast.
If you're listening to this the day it comes out, you only gotta wait 2 days. If you're not, it may already be out. Go check it out.
Yeah, how about that?
It will be a fun time.
You know it. It always is. Be sure to like, rate, subscribe, 5 stars, all the fun things that you can do. It helps. Even 200 episodes in, it helps.
Yeah, and tell a friend that you would go treasure hunting with about the podcast.
I know a metal detector you can buy. The website's from 2007 and so insecure it doesn't even start with a www, but you can sure get one. We'll see you next time. Happy hunting. And until we see you again,
Keep spinning. Should we make a tongue-shaped kettle with the Spin It logo on it?
Well, I think we should just make a Spin It logo-shaped kettle.
But I want the tongue shape.
Why? I mean, the tongue, it's not our thing. It's the Rolling Stones thing.
What would be our thing if not just, if it wasn't just our logo? But what would we do?
It would just be our logo.
But the tongue isn't just the Rolling Stones logo. That's just it's a logo that is highly associated with them. So if we didn't do our logo, what would we do?
I think that's about it.
I'm thinking gopher logo.
A gopher teapot?
Yeah, gopher tea kettle. Well, this ending was a little uncouth.
It was a pretty couth. It was a fine. The level of couthness, I'm okay with.
Oh, okay.
It's a Rolling Stones episode. They're supposed to be a little uncouth.
This will make you happy. You know what I've refrained from... What joke I refrained from making every time you said couth?
What's that?
I wanted to bring up racing pigeons because every time you said couth, I thought of coo. Like
a pigeon would say.
Like a pigeon, exactly. And I was like, no, I don't need to get us back on racing pigeons.
Which you've just done. And once you've done that,
yeah.
Once you've cooed, you can't uncouth.